We're gonna ride right into Ride for
Love
episode
what you did
two.
there.
Yeah. Which is interesting because it's our first episode, um, really full episode in the aftermath of Austin's death. And we have more clarity on what's going on with the ranch, though it seems like the kids are not on board with Isabel's plans to try to save it, which is interesting, especially Tough, who actually runs the ranch with his mom.
hmm
That part was interesting to me. I mean, I get that they don't want the Booker family, who are Royal Dynasty, to be a part of saving their livelihood. But at the same time, Gus seems different.
I mean, yeah, that's what he's saying. They were kind of nasty at that dinner to him. I watched it again and I was just like, you guys are grown.
Right?
What's happening here?
It is really weird. They were so mean, and it felt very much like he's the rich kid at their high school who they don't want to work on a project
Mhm.
with, and their mom's making them.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I get it. They're territorial. It's their home. It's their legacy. I would be a little like iffy too about some rich suit walking in and being like, I'm gonna save the day. And you're like, sure, okay. But like I do kind of like Gus in a not in like a not like an I'm standing way, but like I understand what role he's playing in a television show and I'm gonna enjoy it as long as it lasts. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I see the connection that he and Missy have and I'm like I'm actively rooting for it, even though I know like in the back of my mind, the Missy setup is already in there. And I'm like, that's great. We'll get to it and we'll tease it. But I'm like, I kind of want to see what her and the rich guy would kind of look like and like see that world and like see Cash be like I'm all for him. Like, so I don't know where they ended up with Gus and the ranch, but like I mean obviously he's a series regular, so he's gonna stick around. Um, But I'm all for it. They were nasty, and I was Team Gus helping them out.
Mhm.
It was very immature, especially after Isabel told them to be on their best behavior. I think there could have been more subtle ways to do that, but they wanted to make him feel uncomfortable and back out. It's interesting that in the episode they never had like that full circle moment where they all realized they shouldn't have done that, and Gus they were like, "Welcome, Gus." Like, so we're playing the slow game with this one to see where it goes. We didn't neatly wrap it up at the end of the episode, but as to where things ended up, didn't Gus say to Missy at the end, "I can't wait around forever," and it was like metaphorically talking about the ranch, but he was also kind of talking about their coffee date. So, yeah, I agree, Reed. It's nice to live in the moment with the storyline. We know it's not long term. Well, the ranch one maybe we'll say, but like Missy's just potential. Well, she's not really torn at this stage because you can see the connection between her and Cash. But like, I like when a show does this that you don't really know where it'll land. We know where it'll land long term, but we don't know where it'll land at the moment. And I'm enjoying seeing all the pieces of the puzzle like just settle into where they are.
Yeah, because Gus is just a nice rich man. Like he's hanging out with his niece, taking her to rodeos. He really just wants to help with the ranch. He wants to break away from his family. The man is not doing anything wrong. Cash's part I understood because jealousy. And
Yeah.
it's like just a big old neon sign worth of jealousy for him. But Tough in Valeria, I was like, I don't know, y'all.
That was like during the dinner scene when they were all ganging up on Gus and then Tough was getting on Valeria and I was like, whoa, pick one. What side are you on? Tough, like you're my man, but I'm gonna call you out when I need to call you out.
He's been consistently upset with her and I mean I get it because she did just disappear, leaving him to deal with the aftermath with everything happening with the family. But they were even arguing about these sheep,
Mhm.
which as a plot, I will say I came in and out of the sheep plot. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like even watching this for the second time, I'm like, I
They needed to
understand
get the
it.
sheep to help the ranch, but the guy that was selling the sheep hated Valeria for reasons related to her beating his daughter in a horse race. So she was gonna
Mhm.
give the horse to him, and Tough was like, no, 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 no. And I don't remember the terms of the deal, but it seemed very, I don't want to say illegal, but like, did you get that written down, Tough? Seems very under the table.
Yes, like so like the mechanics of it is like I get it, but as a story element, it's very dry. So but
Yeah.
You
Um,
really got to care about those sheep.
you do. But no, you're right, because I think what they're going to do is because his land, I think the sheep have eaten all the grass, the healthy grass, and they can't
Yeah.
feed them. So they're like, they can graze on our land, but we need to take a cut. And you're right, that
Yeah, I
doesn't
think the
sound.
point, yeah, I think the point was like his land isn't going to help the sheep, and then in turn he's not going to make money, but like they would be able to help him. I don't know, but yeah, they needed to put something in writing because there were some like terms and conditions that I'm like, you gotta lock that in, or you're just gonna like what, not pay him 1 month and then he, I don't know. I was getting nervous preemptively, even though like this is the Hallmark show and like that's not what's gonna happen. Like we're probably never gonna hear about this again.
No.
But like I'm still like, wait, where are the lawyers?
It was very much like they just docked the boat at the end. And it does leave you wondering. It was I don't want to say that the rest of the episode undermined it, but there was Isabel trying to set up this major like investor sale that would probably have solved their problems, at least for the immediate future. And then meanwhile, Valeria is still running around after these sheep just to try and get the storyline, trying to get her storyline, which is to help long term. And I understand that when you have to help long term, but we found out that this plot was not going anywhere and they were still on about the sheep and they were going to keep going and they got there in the end. But like you said, it just feels like they just kind of docked the boat in the end. The
But
purpose of the episode
I
was
kind of love
reached.
it because I don't want to hear about the sheep anymore. One and done.
Yes, it is funny though, because it does sort of put into perspective Isabel's long-term goals and how
Mhm.
the kids are really just doing whatever they need to do to get by. And there's like a generational gap there where she understands more how much she needs to see down the road, and they're looking for band-aids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's not how this works. Though, I mean, in the long term, having more livestock to graze their land, which they just recently seeded, is gonna be helpful. And I don't know if they'll get a cut of the wool. I can't remember if that was part of the conversation about shearing the
I
sheep.
think, yeah, I think they get a
Okay.
cut of
You
the
know,
wool. Who thought this would be a discussion we would have?
I know, because I'm like, this is not usually a CW discussion talking about
No.
how how to run a ranch. Uh, but I mean, I think that's what helps with bringing something new to the table because it does, lead the audience to learn a little bit more about agricultural living. People
Mhm.
who do spend a lot of their time around livestock and their lives are dependent on it, and the real income that they have to drive in order to sustain um, their land. Because I thought it was interesting that they were mean to Gus for his how rich he is, but they're land rich.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
they have, I
Right.
mean, there is so much acreage, but they're struggling to take care of it all. So that's an interesting dynamic. As far as like I'm just gonna hop to the romances. We have Cash and Missy, who this is I love him, but he aggravates me, and it's because like she was waiting for him to take the shot in that flashback, and he just didn't. And Austin clearly doesn't really know her. He's like, I was lonely on the road and I did some reflection, and that means I should marry her. And I'm just not seeing their chemistry or where exactly Missy and Austin fit on the relationship dynamic. But the fact that Cash would just give his brother a jewelry box that he got for Missy so that his
A
brother could
horse
put his,
necklace is still in play though.
yeah, but which thankfully. But like the box though, I was so that flashback aggravates me. Well acted. It aggravates me for Cash as a character. It works for him because he doesn't take his shot, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just like I am even more aggravated at Austin. Not to rag on a dead man, but I'm like, you don't have questions
Mm.
about your brother spending time with, I guess, your girlfriend,
It was unclear to me
or
too.
why he's giving you this box. Like, why did you buy this box for my girlfriend? It's confusing and all the fronts,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just Austin doesn't seem to care. I don't know. He's just an aggravating character to me. As somebody, okay, you don't have to spoil too much, Sabrina, but I'm just like wondering, and I need to know, as someone who has seen this full season, do we see any glimpses of Austin and Missy's relationship? Because so far we haven't, right?
I'm trying to remember if there's even a flashback of these
Oh
two
dear
in there.
Lord.
I feel like there is. There's probably like one or two, but
I'm
this
not seeing
very,
the vision for them. It seems it's giving very much we settled.
Mm.
yeah.
Not me gagging them. I clocked it. Oops.
Yes.
The scene there at the end of the flashback arc at the very end of the episode, what Austin said, I don't think was awful when he like realized he was on the road and that he wanted to be with her or whatever. I just don't think it was said in a way that was very complimentary of her. It kind of made it all about him and it was
It was
his
all about
decision.
him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It could have been
Um,
anybody. It was just happened to be her.
exactly.
Mhm.
That's it. Again, the overall idea of that arc, love it. How he delivered it, not so much. It kind of took her out of the equation. And then when Cash was like, but ever since you've been together, y'all have been apart. So where does this come? You think she can say no if she wants to? It just made it sound like he wasn't all that in it, and he was just doing it because he realized he didn't want to be alone. Whereas again, when Missy said that line in the middle of the episode that no one knew her like Austin, I was like, I did not get that from the flashback in the first episode, but sure,
Did it all hinge on the
whatever.
box? Like
Yes.
him knowing
Yeah,
her?
yeah,
And
Yes.
exactly.
meanwhile, Cash is like, oh, girl, if you knew.
Because at the end, I was like, oh, I like this. Because I was like, what? Again, sorry, Austin, rest in peace. I was like, why are we spending so much time on this if it isn't going anywhere? And now I see that vision. But it really does sound like that the original relationship of the show was basically just an obstacle for Missy and Cash because would anyone root for Missy and Austin if it was done in the present day? I don't see it. I don't get it. I don't like it.
No.
You know what I
I
mean?
feel like, yeah, I think that's the point, hopefully. But I do love the tragic like element of him longingly glancing at the box and just feeling super defeated as he's walking out of her house.
Which
Like I love that.
I love it too, but it's also like, honey, you put yourself in that position. That did not
Yeah.
need to happen to you. But Michael, I see your point about Austin's line, and I would like Austin's line if Austin wasn't a self-centered character.
Hmm.
Like it just doesn't. We when we see him again in this episode, he pulls up in his new black truck, comes out with the giant silver trophy, and like I won. And we come over like, and then the discussion between him and his brother is really just about, I was only on the road. Like it's not
Mhm.
about her. He doesn't consider what's going to do to her rodeo career, which Cash does. He's like, well, if you get married, she can't continue to be a rodeo queen, which is a thing, by the way. That's not just for the show. Rodeo queens can't be married.
Oh,
So
I
you
didn't know
have to
that.
Oh,
retire.
Because I was kind of
yeah.
like, what?
Yeah. So like because the whole thing is you're supposed to kind of like beauty queens, right? You're a representation and model of the community and the sport, but they prefer that you do not indicate whether you're dating somebody. And if you're married, you have to stop. Like
So she gave that up.
she gave it up to be with
Okay.
him, even though I think she was at the top of her career as a trick writer or really coming
Yeah, I
to her
do kind
own.
of, I'm understanding her more, kind of like not knowing who she is because she was this person and then she gave it up to be his wife and now she has neither
Hmm.
of them and she's kind of like, I'm selling jeans, what's going on? So I kind of get her struggle. Hmm.
It's upsetting as a Missy
Yeah.
fan, but I mean, it's a good spot to be in at the beginning of the season for her to be figuring it out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, because she is just selling jeans. I like this moment she has with Cash where I believe she's talking to him, where she says, I wasn't just giving Austin words that he wanted to hear. I actually was coaching him. These weren't just lines that I was throwing him. I was coaching him through his entire career. She didn't get recognized for it though. And then
Hmm.
Hmm.
being Cash's coach, she would be able to be recognized for it. She wouldn't just be Cash's widowed sister-in-law. She gets to be Missy, his
Yeah.
coach.
I like that
Yeah.
arc for her because it feels like the idea of coaching kind of fell into her lap because she kind of had to do it for Austin and then she realized she was really good for it. So this is her chance to do it again. But like, well, I want to say on a more professional level, and it will be on a more professional level because she's not married to Cash. But at the
Yeah.
same time, obviously, that's what I'm getting at. Exactly. But at the same time, obviously, there's affection there. Um, so it does make you wonder where it'll go. How does she balance that with the being the brand ambassador and all of that? I really do like her arc now. I really did enjoy this episode of her wanting to find out more of, who she was as a person, and the fact that a lot of people around her weren't not it's not that they weren't willing to accept it, it's that they just did not see her for anything other than Austin's wife, which is kind of awful. Because obviously she's still grieving and she's trying to move on, um, and like reconcile her past with her present. But when the society around her won't see her as a person, other anything outside of a widow, I'm sure that was so hard for her. So I do like her arc in this episode, and that she finally wanted to speak up for herself as a brand ambassador, but at the same time, she's quietly proving herself as a coach as well. So yeah, I'm all for Missy. Go Missy.
See, I was more aggravated on her behalf than she was in this episode
Mm.
when she was doing the radio interview, which is like twofold in proving herself because this radio interview, what am I saying? The radio, who she was an
Host.
author.
Host.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
whoever
a
she
host.
was. All she wanted to talk about was Austin, which I understand like Misty loves Austin, but I kind of was like, ask Missy about Missy.
Mhm.
Every sentence that came out of the radio host's mouth was Austin, Austin, Austin. And even then, like, um, when Missy was talking to Valeria, which like I'm kind of I don't know to how to feel about their relationship. I don't know if they do either, but that's neither here nor there. When they were talking about her brand deal and like trying to improve their click through, Valeria was like, just use Austin's account. And I'm like, some of y'all are very brave the way you're speaking to this woman about her dead husband. Like, I'm like, what are you, what? And then the evil Frontier Jeans man who was like, you need to cancel this interview. And Missy was like, LOL, and ignoring his phone calls. In that moment when that man was speaking to her in that manner on the phone, I turned into that Renee Rapp interview where she was like, I don't like you. I hope your company burns. I was like, I hate him. Better ignore him and do what you need to do. So I don't know. I was more aggravated on her behalf. She's more cool and calm-headed than I was because if I was her friend, I'd be like, girl, you need to start speaking up. But she does it with grace, and I don't know how she does it.
But I think you would have torn up the contract the minute she showed you the poster that they wanted to put her face on, because it's
Hmm.
literally just him and then her smaller in just modeling jeans. I was like, that's offensive.
Yeah.
Why is his face so big on her? But we could have at least asked her for a picture of the two of them if you're going to do that. Not he's literally the specter over her shoulder
Yeah.
as Frontier Jeans sells. Maybe not even using the name Austin's widow is now a brand
Mhm.
ambassador for Frontier Jeans. I am glad that she did get to have her moment because Cash called to ask her that what is your 5-year plan question, because it let her be emotional and talk about how she lost herself and she's trying to find
Mhm.
herself again, and I think that would resonate with a lot of people, which is
Mhm.
Yeah.
hence why she was able to be like, haha, JB, I got all the clicks that you said I need to get.
And I think that's why that lines up so well with the arc of the rest of the episode, because Cash is the only one that sees her. This is an episode where Missy can't be seen by anyone outside of being Austin's widow. But now we learned, even from way before that happened, Cash saw her in a way that nobody else did, even Austin, which I think was the big like revelation of the episode. So it made sense that he was the one that got other people to see her like that as well. He shouldn't have had to. This community should have seen her as who she was. But I did like the fact it was Cash was portrayed as being kind of like stubborn, and he doesn't listen to her, and there was so much conflict throughout that episode because of the way she was coaching him, and he just didn't want to do it. But in the end, it was such a subtle, like nice thing for gesture for him to do, and based on a joke earlier in the episode where he was pretending to be this person asking her that question, and it ultimately gave her the platform to prove herself. So yeah, I really like that. As far as like her arc went in this episode, I thought it was great. I just hope that now more people see her for who she is, because that's why the coaching arc is more interesting to me than her being the brand ambassador, because that the coaching arc has nothing to do with us, and that's about who she is. Whereas even though she's using the brand ambassador deal to like get herself out there and move on, she's constantly being reminded who she was and what she lost. Whereas the coaching gives her something new to look forward to, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I liked too the conversation that she had with Isabel, where she was like, I don't want this to feel weird for you that I'm doing any of this. And she was like, listen, you gotta do what you gotta do. Your own story is your story. Don't worry about how I feel. I feel like that was a really necessary scene. I really like seeing their bond because I mean, more so than, I mean, I know they all lost Austin, but I think for them it probably hit the most because that's her son, that's her husband. So they can see eye to eye in that way. And I know that Missy being forced to use his name probably would make Isabel feel a certain kind of way, but I think having her blessing to do what she feels is right. I don't know. I really love that scene. I really like when they're together.
They have a really nice dynamic as a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. And I think it also speaks to like they're the only two on the ranch who know what it's like to lose a husband
Hmm.
to bull riding. And that's not the same situation, like you said, Reed, that the others are feeling. And it's a particular way, I think, obviously, Missy didn't lose her husband and then also have to raise children.
Hmm.
But Isabel understands, like, as a woman who has now has to grieve, but also has to find her way forward. She gets it. She's like, don't worry about me. Like, love that you
Hmm.
checked in on me and I love you, but you handle what you need to handle. And I think that,
Hmm.
like you said, that is a very necessary moment for Missy. I think for the show too, to not forget that Isabel sees her as well,
Hmm.
in a way that goes beyond what they're doing for the rodeo and what she was doing. Just she
Yeah.
just sees her as a fellow woman who's been through something that is hard that
Yeah.
most people won't understand.
And I think too, Missy was Isabel's only ally in that dinner scene.
Yeah.
Like I know that she has a different relationship with Gus than the others do, but Missy was still like, "What's happening? This is good." We're all just like having temper tantrums. I wanted to ask you, Sabrina, because I forgot. What is the birth order of the McMurray boys? Austin's the oldest, and then is
Hmm.
it
Then it's
Cash
Cash and the
Tough?
Tough.
My poor baby Tough. He just gets handed so much.
I know. I mean, and in this episode, so okay, last episode I was telling y'all that Tough gets a little lost in the plot. And it was in for me, it was in this episode that I realized that was going to be the first time I was watching this, that was going to be the consistent thing.
Hmm.
Because I was actually clocking it this time around. I was like, there are so many scenes with Cash and Missy. And then we just keep coming back to this Valeria and Tough plot. And it just doesn't feel as weighty for him. And all the
Hmm.
conversations are actually about her. Until he gets to I couldn't tell what time of day that was because they were in the building. I was like, is it
Yeah.
midday? Is it nighttime? Um, but when his Islam mattresses and him go get something to drink, and he gets
Yeah.
to open up about how hard this has been and the fact that he got demoted. Um, which I'm not really sure what Isabel's thinking was there. Because Valeria came up with like one idea, and now she's co-foreman.
Yeah, I don't see. I wanted to take Tough aside and be like, sweetie, you're missing like a big portion of why this is also an issue. Because I got it immediately as the youngest son, as the queer one, he's handed so much. Like, there's often, do I want to get on the soapbox? I don't know. We'll see how I go. But like, I feel like there's often, I don't want to say always, but like, there's a sort of inherent and sort of unfair role that sometimes queer family members need to handle or like play into, which is like being the stronger one, or like being there for people and like being the tough one and like not really like I don't know why and I don't know how that is. I'm sure I could get into it a little bit more, but it just felt like anything that Isabel needs, she puts on Tough, and Tough is the one that he's not gonna be as emotional as say maybe it's because of birth order. He's the youngest. He's seen maybe Austin be a little bit. We don't know about how his temperament was, but he's very cocky and selfish, and maybe
Mhm.
he was more prone to saying no. And then Cash is the one who like went away, and he's also emotional and like, so Tough had to be the one to hold down the fort and be strong for his mom. Um, and he's not only being demoted, I don't see it as a demotion as he's got a new partnership, but he's also has to, for his mom, make sure that his only other living brother does not die doing what killed his other brother. And it's just like that also puts Tough in danger too, but he just has to like take it. And I was like, Tough, there's so much more going on than you having to work with Valeria. And I just wanted to like give him a hug and also be like, babe, do you see this too? Or is it just me?
No, I think what you're saying makes total sense. And we've seen this before. Like I was at Love Victor, whatever. The mom said to Victor, you're the one I never have any trouble with. There's so much put on the young queer kid.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember writing about that in Ring
really,
of Love. Yeah.
so it really is, does resonate. And I think that's important. But at the same time, had so many issues here because I agree, Sabrina, totally the same, felt that way. That it's just like you're watching it play out exactly like you predicted it would on screen all the time. But he gets given the low hanging fruit. He's the one that has an adventure of the week this week, so that he's on the screen all the time. But he's just caught up in everybody else's storyline, and that's not his storyline. He's a supporting character, and I know he's a supporting character in the show, but it feels like he's a supporting character in his own life. And I think on most ways that's a good thing. But I also didn't like the way it ended up, and that his love interest was telling him that well, look, you were demoted here so that you could do this instead. I'd see this as a benefit. I'd see this as a bonus. And I'm like, Tough, who has all the pressure in the world, was literally demoted from one of his jobs so that he can continue doing it, but with someone else, so that he can be given another job instead. I don't know if this is a thing to celebrate, if you know what I mean. It's someone who's constantly under pressure, has half the pressure in one job now, but has been given a brand new one with far more pressure. And I'm like, why are we celebrating this? Like, give this man a break. Let him go to sleep once in a while. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he deserves a bit more than that. And I do hope in the show's short run it does get a chance to at least play with that a little bit.
Mm. I do think Vicky might be right though that Isabel doesn't see it as a demotion. She just sees it as a partnership. But I
Mm.
think I wish we knew more about what Valeria did before she left the ranch to warrant her being raised to the same level as
Mhm.
uh Tough, because it makes it seem like Michael had said, that she just wants him to split time. It's not even about like Valeria earned this or that she thinks that Tough needs more help. It's that she just wants him to also be able to focus on bullfighting, which isn't
Yeah.
necessarily, I don't think that it comes off in the show that he particularly has a passion for it. Like he
Mhm.
likes it. Like they're all part of the rodeo. That was his way of contributing because he didn't want to be a bull rider. But I don't know if bullfighting really is the thing that like he is gung ho about, right? That like, oh yes, thank you, mom. Now I can actually
Mhm.
get back more in the ring. But the way that his love interest phrases, I wish I remembered his name,
I
but
don't remember it either.
I know, but phrases it, it does free up time. So maybe if Tough didn't want to do any of those things, we could focus on music. We can do some
Mhm.
musical things.
Yeah.
Since that is his actual passion and he's really good at it. Beautiful voice.
Yeah. Tough, I think he might have pride. I think that's part of why, like, having Valeria added on, he was kind of, I think it, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I feel like it's less about the demotion, more like, you don't think I can handle this?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And that? Like, how have I not proven that I can do all this for you? So sad. I love him.
You know, more scenes for Tough in season 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Solo storylines, or ones where he's not sort of, because even with the sheep, that was Valeria. He was along for the
Mhm.
ride for that
He
one.
did catch her at that dive bar with some mysterious man, so I'm hoping that goes somewhere.
Did they say his name? I feel like they said his name in the thing. Well, I'm gonna tell you his occupation, even if they didn't say he's the pawn shop man.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
that's
okay.
where did Missy see her outside the pawn shop? Is that where, or she saw her?
No, but when in episode 1, the premiere, no, that's a
Yeah.
grocery store. I think that's like a
Okay.
Philip Morris or something. But but Tough had seen in the premiere Valeria
Mm-hmm.
and that man, and then she lied to him in episode 2 and said, "I don't know him, what you know, I didn't." And then he saw her interacting with him by the pool table. I think that man was shooting pool. I don't
Mhm.
know. He just looks very shady.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, Tough is like, "Girl, why are you lying? Like, what what is happening over here?"
Didn't
Uh,
he call her name at the bar and then he hid when he saw her?
Yep.
I
It's
think
like
so,
tough,
yeah.
pick one.
I think what else happens in the Cash got the bull he wanted.
Yeah.
So we will be seeing Hurricane at some
I
point. I
was
believe
very
that's the bull's name.
disconnected to that. I was like, sheep or bull? I'm gonna focus on the sheep.
Oh, he needs a practice bull in order to be able to train properly. Um
Hmm.
that's where that's I think that was one of those, if I could describe it as like a E plot. Like
Hmm.
he says he needs it, and then Missy just gets it, and there's really no explanation. She just got it. That was it.
It,
That was the
Yeah.
end of
this
them.
the story was supposed to be, wasn't it, that his mom wasn't purposely making excuses so that he would eventually not do it because he didn't have a practice bell, but that Missy was the one that finally got through to her. So again, on the Missy and Isabel relationship. Um, but I know what you mean. Again, that could have been like more of a plot at the forefront, but it kind of, you're right, it felt a bit like an E plot. It was there, it was to prove how effective Missy was and the people listened to Missy, and it did it in the end. But yeah, I literally, if I'd never talked about that again, I'd have forgot it happened.
I feel like if anybody needs like a partner, Isabel should hire Missy. She's done more for this ranch in 2 episodes. So I'm like, girl, love you, Isabel, but I think you might need some help.
But she is just as prideful, so she is not going to admit that. We're just going to be, because even in the
Continue to
movie,
delegate.
right? Because Tough was like, "Mom, I was gonna do that. Why are you in the tractor?" She's like, "Ah, I was up early. I got it done." I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Demote yourself, girl, get a partner.
She's gonna end up with some like health crisis and then she's gonna be like, you're right, I need some help.
I'm gonna roll that one out.
Oh, so feels like that doesn't happen.
No, wait. No, I don't think that happens. I don't think that's a thing that happens with her.
Had you
I
for a
mean, it happens in TV
moment.
shows where like somebody like keels over from like a panic attack or a heart attack or like they're doing
Mhm.
too much and they fall off a ladder and then everyone's
Mhm.
like, you need to slow down. They're like, okay, you're right.
That's why I paused, because I was like, was there another Western I watched where the mom was like having palpitations and they were like, Mom? And that's like how the episode goes off. But I can't remember now. So if I am wrong, sorry I lied. Uh,